They say hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, but I think in this movie it's hell hath no fury like a horny woman denied action. Yeah, I'm talking about X. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, my name is Matt Jarbo. This is Pondio Commentary, and I just got done watching Ty West's one of two films this year, X, and man, I really, really loved it. However, this was, and I'll fully admit, so feel free to flame me in the comments, this was my very first A24 film, and I was kind of under the impression that A24 generally tends to put out, like, over pretentious movies. Like, I saw the trailer for Lamb. It looked interesting, but it also looked like something that wasn't necessarily up my wheelhouse for things. But this movie, everyone told me this movie was great. Everyone has told me that Pearl is excellent, and it's definitely something that I want to dive into because we are now at the very end of the Halloween season. This week I've watched Terrifier. Last week I watched the Halloween trilogy. This week I'm doing X and Pearl. Like, I'm trying to ingratiate myself more into the horror genre. And man, I'll tell you this, I'm having an absolute blast. I forgot how much I love horror films. This movie is really different. It's really different. And that might be where that whole pretentiousness angle comes from, because yeah, it's a slasher movie. Yeah, it's a horror film, but it doesn't even kick off into that world until like the last 30 minutes of the movie, where it kind of goes from 0 to 100, but it's really, really good. And it's really well handled. And the whole time you're just drawn and sucked into this little slice of life, if you will, this fly on the wall escapade of watching an early, home porno film being made. But what I found to be fascinating, and again, coming at this from my filmmaker roots and coming at this from just my love of the general art of filmmaking and cinema, as well as the business, is the fact that you have this, group of strippers, right, at a burlesque show in Houston wanting to shoot an experimental adult film in the late 70s, because they realize home video is going to be where it's at, and they can make a lot of money by more or less pleasing perverts in the comfort of their own home, making it way more accessible, way more obtainable, and obviously kind of being first to what we know throughout our own history, what actually did well in regards to adult entertainment back in the 80s. Like when the adult industry chose VHS over beta, that's what solidified VHS owning that market. Beta was a better quality product, but VHS was cheaper. So when you're mass producing adult films to get them out to the customers, we can see why. I mean, you basically have porn to thank for your entire VHS collection when you were a kid. Funny little side story on that one. Because of that, when porn decided to back HD DVD over Blu-ray, I invested in an HD DVD player thinking that was once again going to happen. But what I didn't expect was the popularity of Disney movies on Blu-ray to kind of be the tipper of that scale. At least that's my particular take on that. But again, look, we're here to talk about X, not porn. Well, I mean, in essence, they kind of overlap. There's a bit of a Venn diagram there, but essentially what I enjoy about this movie is it's just, again, this little ragtag group of people heading off to this kind of far off community in Texas where people need money. They have rooms for rent, and like, look, no one's going to ask any questions. Money goes a long way out here, so we'll make it work, and wanting to shoot this movie. But what was great about that is they went and they found this guy named RJ, who is like an independent cinematographer, an inexperienced director, an auteur, if you will, who wants to make a good, dirty movie. He wants to shoot something very, artistic and have a lot of, just like a lot of very low and high angles and probably Dutch angles and things like that. He wanted to make it compelling, and he wanted to make it experimental, and he wanted to play with it in the editing bay. And I thought that was really fascinating, because I know guys that are like him, right? I know guys that are just like, yeah, I want to get this shot from down here. And there's a great scene in the beginning of it when they're at the gas station and they're kind of shooting one of the opening shots of this porno called The Farmer's Daughters, where Brittany Snow's character is like, why don't you shoot this and it will make it look like he's filling the car with this cock? And like, oh yeah, like that works out really well. Like they kind of had this weird set up little relationship thing, this angle relationship between Brittany Snow and RJ's character that ultimately like went nowhere. Cause I mean, really, where was it going to go? How was it going to be explored? All things considered, they had a good moment later on, which I'll get to, where they could have done something like that, but it's not that kind of movie. It's not a drama. At that point, it was going full on horror. So they really weren't able to do it. But what I enjoyed was like, they go to this house and you get to see the old guy, Harold, right? And he's walking him around and whatever, but they don't really show his face. They really block out his face. Ty West blocks it out and it looks mysterious. It looks creepy. He's got a little bit of like, almost like a Leatherface vibe. Like you're getting Texas Chainsaw Massacre family vibes off this guy. And he's all like, don't upset my wife. Don't accept my wife. And you're like, okay, like where's the wife? She's just going to be upstairs. Obviously they're setting things up. But like, as they get into the cabin and as they decide to immediately go to work, what I enjoy was like how Maxine's character, Mia Goth, like she goes off just to kind of explore a little bit. She dives into the lake, the scene with the crocodile. Like obviously that was foreshadowing for what was going to probably be, in my opinion, the best kill of the movie. But I like it that she's out there, she's swimming. We get this great overhead shot, like, you know, this really excellent shot of her just out there. You know, she's in the buff, she's skinny dipping everything else. But then as she starts swimming back, here comes the crocodile. Man, that was intense. Like, I was like, they're not going to kill her here. Obviously, they're setting things up. Like this movie was very predictable. You know, I'll fully admit that it's very predictable, but I liked where it was going because the characters were engaging. The plot was engaging. You knew where it was going to end up, but you wanted to enjoy the journey nonetheless. And that's basically how I felt while watching this whole movie. I could have told you the order people were probably going to die, because it follows conventions. It's a very simple, straightforward movie. Hell, it only had a budget of roughly $1 million. So they very excellently used that budget, but they also still very much followed a relatively conventional take on this particular thing. But the difference, though, really is about the wife. It's about Pearl. And I didn't know. I knew Pearl came out this year, and I knew Mia Goth is in Pearl, but I heard it was a prequel to X, and I was asking my friends, I'm like, should I watch Pearl first? And they're like, no, that's going to be the reveal. You're going to learn too much. And then I'm like watching it, and I'm just like looking at her. And again, they kind of obfuscate her face a little bit. You don't really get to see what she looks like. There's not a lot of close-up shots at first, but then gradually you start to see that she looks identical to Mia Goth. And then I'm like, oh, that's Pearl. Oh, okay. Like, oh, I get it now. Like there's, oh, wow. That was actually really cool. I thought that was really good. And I liked their exchange was largely nonverbal, but like you could tell that Pearl was having some kind of obsession with Maxine. Maxine was a little weirded out for it. But obviously there was the angle there of like, don't tell the husband, it will be our little secret, kind of solidifying a false sense of security between the two of them, right? Where you're thinking like, okay, he's going to be the psycho killer. She's going to be the one that's kind of like in this abusive relationship. And a lot of it probably has to do with the fact that the two can't be intimate, because we do see them talk. She basically is like, honey, I want the D. Give me the D, just the tip. Just give it to me. And he's like, but my heart can't take it. And I'm like, okay, like he's old. She's old. He's afraid his ticker is going to give out while they're getting it on. And I understand that. It's a very valid fear if you don't have proper health coverage, right? So it's like, okay, maybe that's going to be his big angle. That's going to be his big, like his reason for killing is like, he's going to be pissed off, I guess. I don't know. Like I was really trying to figure out the exact crux of what was going to happen, like how things were going to get there. Like I said, the general overall plot, predictable, but some of the little elements of it were definitely a nice little twist, you know, because the big moment for me, the pivotal moment for me in the movie, and this is where the movie could have gone either way. It could have become a horror or it could have become a drama. And I think because I was really invested with the characters by this point in time, either way I would have been happy with. If this movie wasn't a slasher and it absolutely was just focusing on like interpersonal drama on the set of a late 1970s experimental homemade porno, I still would have been in it. Yeah, I still would have been in this story, because Lorraine, the church mouse, played greatly by Jenna Ortega, you know, she's RJ's girlfriend. And she's very reserved, and she's very just kind of, keeps to herself. But she's intrigued and turned on by the sex. And I mean, Brittany Snow gives this great little speech about that, like how it turns him on and that frightens him. That's the big reason why so many people push back against pornography. And so what I thought was interesting about that was she then immediately goes, well, I want to be part of this. I want to do this. I want to be in the movie. Now, her going from 0 to 100 definitely like caught me a little bit off guard. I mean, I could understand the desire of a young 23-year-old woman to want to experiment in this particular fashion. I get that. But like, she, like, her boyfriend is right there, and she is like, doesn't even give a shit what he has to say about this. Like, she doesn't care what RJ says about this. And RJ is clearly like, no, you can't do this. Like, no, it's my movie. You can't, we can't rework the script. He's saying everything except what he should say, which is, I'm jealous. I'll be jealous. I'll be upset. I'll be hurt. But he doesn't say it like that because he's like, oh no, because they just got done having this whole conversation about how when the camera's on, it's not sex, it's business, right? But they're the performers. RJ, he tried using the like, oh, you're not a prude, are you, to her earlier, and she uses it back on him here, which I get the flipping of it, but I felt it was relatively unfair. I understand why Lorraine wanted to do it, and I understand why RJ said no, and I understand why Wayne talks him into it. But the thing is, though, none of the other women, not Mia Goth, not Brittany Snow, not even Kid Cudi, who, by the way, was excellent in this movie, dude. He was awesome in this movie. He was great. None of them remotely said no. None of them even said, well, maybe this isn't the life she wants to lead. Maybe that's the whole thing. And I feel like there would have been self-awareness enough in that moment to maybe not do that, but okay, whatever, okay. But then like RJ goes in and he watches, and you just like, get this reflection of her, Jenna Ortega and her underwear. It says Sunday on it, and you're like, she they call her church mouse. She has her underwear has the day of the week on it. She's harmless. She's never done anything exciting in her life before. Like, this is meant to be that. It's meant to showcase that. And then like, but you just, you have to like undo his, his towel, and we don't see anything. We hear moaning, but like you get the perspective through RJ where it's just like, you can see him like start to tear up as he puts the camera lens to his eye. And then after it's over, everyone's asleep and he's in the shower and he's crying. Man, I felt for that character, dude. He did nothing to deserve being treated like that, and she was just passed out cold. Right. And I understand, like, again, no shame, but it's like in that moment, like, you guys got to have a conversation about this. Like, I just kind of feel to a little personal, like I've had a situation like that many, many years ago, 18 years ago now, where something similar happened in my life. And it was just that lack of consideration for my feelings in that just, so I think I really resonated with RJ there. And of course he's like, F this, I'm out, I'm leaving. And he steals the keys. And as he tries to get away, he sees Pearl, and he's trying to be kind and help her back into the house, just being a nice guy. But then of course she kills him. I mean, oh my God, it was great. Like, just brutal. And then from there, like Wayne and Lorraine are trying to find him, and like Wayne dies in a very obvious way. Again, like, this movie's kind of predictable. He goes into the barn, he injures himself. He sees her moving through these 3 little holes. And I'm like, 3 little holes, that's where a pitchfork's going to come through. And lo and behold, a pitchfork got him, but it was a cool kill nonetheless. It was very, very violent. What I enjoyed about the kills in this movie is the editing was fast. And they hit you with it, and then they immediately cut away. I really liked the editing. I thought that was really solid just for the shock factor, and then the immediate pull out. So that part was cool. And then for, obviously Lorraine gets duped by Harold, who locks her in the basement. Down there, she finds the body of a naked man, clearly who had been hung up and turned into a bit of a sex slave. We can kind of ascertain that. No other information about who the hell that guy is. So that was always kind of crazy. But then, like, Harold lures out, Kid Cootie's character, And what's great about that is like they kind of like reference it like that he's got a big dick. And you know, they kind of like reference like the Dirk Diggler angle of it. And then of course you see him and he's nude, but you just see the silhouette and you just see it between his legs. Thing's massive. Just call him tripod, you know? And like I was laughing at that because like again, it was like very subtle, but you see it, it's there, like, and it's a reference from before. So then he goes and he starts helping the old guy try to find his wife. They walk around the lake. They find out that there's gators out there. And then they find the car of the guy who was clearly tied up in the basement. But again, no explanation. It's just there. And then Harold, you know, kills him because he thinks that they're there to excite the wife, to do something to the wife that Harold is not able to do. And then after that, right, like, you know, Brittany Snow runs out and tries to help Pearl, who for some reason had crawled into the bed with, crawled into bed, got naked, crawled in next to Maxine, Mia Goth, and just starts like, I can't tell if she fingered her while she was asleep. Like, I can't tell. It kind of implies that because she gets close and she starts breathing really heavily into her ear. I just thought the whole thing was weird. Right. It was like, I don't know if it's meant to be erotic or it's meant to just be creepy erotic or weird kind of thing like that. That was the vibe I got. It didn't really do anything outside of just creep me the hell out, which is, I think was the ultimate goal. But then of course, you know, Maxine wakes up and outruns Pearl, and Brittany Snow kind of tracks her over to the edge of the lake. And you know what's going to happen, right? You already know what's going to happen. They've already set this up. But the croc kill was pretty cool. I thought the croc kill was pretty good. I'll fully admit that. Like it happened. You knew it was going to happen, but it was still able to get you. And I really appreciated that. What got me though is the fact that like you've Jenna Ortega, she's underneath the basement. She's trying to get out. Mia Goth runs in, opens the door. And you know, Jenna Ortega's pissed. She's furious. She's scared. Adrenaline is running. She doesn't know who she can trust. Obviously, she saw RJ dead. She blames, you know, Maxine for that. She runs on out, shotgun blast, square to the face and neck, like just plows her. That was shocking. And then what I love is like Harold has a heart attack a moment later. And then, you know, Mia Goth runs out, puts a gun to Pearl's head, is gonna kill her. The gun doesn't have any bullets in it. Pearl grabs a shotgun, fires it, launches her out, just cracks her hip. She can't get away. And then like the whole time though, she's like, Mia Goth is pissed. Like she's not like, you could tell the adrenaline had kicked in from Maxine. The adrenaline had kicked in. She is pissed off. She is on cocaine. She's, you know, like furious, I would assume, because now she's heard that all of her friends are dead. She now knows everybody else is dead. And as she's driving away, Pearl's yelling at her, you know, and she just backs up, runs over her head, and then drives off, and then does another bump of coke, and the movie ends. Well, obviously it ends with the police showing up the next day. Now, there's been some stuff I read up about, like, you know, some plot holes in the movie. The only one for me was the guy, right? Like, was the guy who they had tied up. Okay. Because obviously Harold had a bum ticker. He couldn't have sex. They do have sex. That was creepy, but it didn't kill him. I knew it wasn't going to kill him then, right? But he was still going to be in a weakened state from it, which is why he has the heart attack and then he dies right there. So that ends up being, like, to me, something pretty funny. Like how the movie is predictable. It also does what it can to subvert some tropes here and there, which I thought was quite enjoyable. I've gone on for far too long with this review, but I have to say, I really enjoyed the movie. I thought that it was a lot of fun. I thought that it was just like a really compelling human story, a really interesting drama that if it didn't go slasher, it could have just been this drama movie between RJ and Lorraine and their relationship. It's set to the backdrop of this particular, you know, setup. And I thought it would have been pretty good. So now bring on Pearl. I have no idea what's going to happen in that movie. I've barely seen anything with it, but I'm very excited to dive in. So obviously the next movie I review will be Pearl. So if you guys saw X and you liked it or you didn't like it, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. If you want me to review any other movies, let me know by posting that in the comment. Like the video, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching Podio Commentary, and peace out.